me, Adam Pacitti.
I am the one and only.
You're getting sued for that, Kenny.
If we're getting sued for that, the rest of this is going to be interesting. We're not going to bash anybody. So we've worked together for a while, and we've tried to legally think about what we can say and what we can't say many times. So for anybody who doesn't know you, you were at WhatCulture with me in WCPW. But before that, what was your job before you worked in wrestling?
Woolworths.
Was really?
Did you not know that?
No.
I've had all sorts of jobs. My first ever job was a door-to-door salesman. So I would knock on people's doors and try to sell them things. And I still remember it's, hi there, sorry to bother you, just in the area, offering free no obligation porches on windows, doors, porches and conservatories. Oh, so I got fired. And then I worked in an arcade for a bit. And then I worked in, I've done everything, Kenny.
Have you worked on an ice cream van with a pedophile? Because I've done that.
I've worked in an ice cream
Gordon's
kiosk.
ice cream in Renfrew. It was anyway. I was too fat and old. He didn't touch me. But just edit this bit out. But before you worked in wrestling, you decided
In wrestling?
wrestling.
I make dick jokes for a living, Kenny. Just happened to like
You make dick jokes in wrestling.
That's right, yeah.
But before you worked in wrestling, you decided a way to get a better job, and it's pretty inventive, would be to pay money to get a billboard to ask for you to get a job. So I think we have the first billboard here that you had. I spent my last £500 on this billboard. Please give me a job. EmployAdam.com.
Yeah, so, right, I've never told this in full before, but I actually had a job when I put that up. I lied to the mainstream media, and I was, at the time, working in the arcade, dispensing 2p's in exchange for pound coins. And I was unhappy doing it, and
No.
You know what?
You weren't fulfilled?
I look back, and it was one of the most fun jobs I ever had, because I was working like 80 hours a week, but in arcades nobody expects any level of customer service. So you go in there, and I worked in Woolworths before, and you have to be really nice to everyone, and some old woman brings something back, and you smile and you give her money back despite how soiled the item may be. But in the arcade you can literally, like, somebody say, oh, there's a problem with that machine over there. Yeah, no, mate. You're in an arcade, what do you expect? Anyway, I was working in the arcade, and I was unhappy, I wanted to do something else. So yeah, I paid £500. It wasn't actually £500.
How much was it?
It was £620, but that looked on a billboard, so I went with 500.
So, but there's more to it. So you have this.
Yes.
And then you can tell us what happened in a minute. But up next, you got another billboard. I spent my first wage packet on this billboard. Thank you for helping me, EmployAdam.com. Thank you for coming to Glasgow and doing this for free.
No problem. That's not technically true either. The company that I worked for paid for that one. Just for a bit of free publicity for them.
WhatCulture?
No, not WhatCulture. This wasn't WhatCulture. I went to work for a production company, and I used to... Have any of you seen the program River Cottage featuring Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall? Big fan over there, right? Yeah. Great. Love sausage. And...
What?
It's my favourite website. And so I used to... I used to produce a lot of their video content, so I spent my days, filming how
River
to make
Cottage
bread.
sausage.
No! They made sausage, Kenny. Do you not watch Channel 4?
No.
No. So I used to work down there, and then, the WhatCulture stuff just sort of happened by accident. I love wrestling, obviously, always liked it. And I sent an email, and this is when the YouTube channel had been online for maybe 4 months or something like that. It wasn't big at all. But it was growing very quickly, so I thought, try and get in there. And I sent an email and applied for a job, and they set up a Skype meeting with me on the Monday. And the owner said, oh, so how would you rate your wrestling knowledge? And me being the cocky type that I am, I just went, yeah, it's near encyclopedic. And he went, okay, so what was the dark match at Fully Loaded 1999? And off the top of my head, I just guessed, oh, it was Gangrel versus Test. I was fucking right. That might not be right. I was right just by chance. And the worst thing, we weren't talking face to face. I could have just Wikipedia'd it really quickly, but I had the balls to go with it. And then they offered me a job. Pretty much next thing, I got an email through the next day with a contract, moved to London.
Now, so was that, because I got hired in October 2015. When were you? You November?
September I started in London, yeah.
Because I did the Sting tour. They had to come to the Sting show upstairs. A couple of people. But I did the Sting show, and then I'd emailed them about, can I maybe do some writing for you? And then the same owner set up a Skype meeting. So when I had the message, he said something very similar. He was like, so what do you do? So I do these Inside the Ropes tours. And he went, all right, do you want to work for us full time? I said, well, doing what? Interviews. I went, okay. Hired. And I was like, what are my hours? Just be on Skype 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So I was on Skype 9 to 5, Monday to Friday for 3 weeks going, I don't know what to do. And then I set, poor Adam Blompier, I set him up with an interview with Chris Jericho. Were you at that?
I went to that, I filmed that.
And Chris Jericho looked like he would rather have an enema than do this interview. Like because I think he was like doing a Fozzy tour, and you guys were like doing 2 Fozzy questions, then a wrestling question because you thought that was original. I'd done the same thing. So it was a similar way we got hired, but then when we met the first time, do you remember?
No.
We met because the idea was had, well, why don't you come down for the office Christmas party? What was the game that we played? We had to play Pointless. And we had to play it very correctly.
There was
rules help control the fun.
There was a woman pretty much just hired to develop that Christmas quiz show. It took 2 weeks to build. It was this incredibly complicated PowerPoint presentation that she could click certain things and the bar would go up and there were sound effects and everything. It took an absolute 8. She should be working on the show. She should be with Endemol or whatever, because she was amazing at making office Christmas quizzes.
And so the first thing they decided to get me to do in WhatCulture was they were like, why don't you do an interview? But no, like, this is who this guy is, blah, blah. And like, when you're Scottish, it's very divisive at the beginning if people don't know who you are. And like, who's this Scottish like, in the comments? And, Blompier is doing all the on-channel stuff. And then I said, well, if you let Blompier and I do something, that would be good to, like, get me doing something. And I was told, Blompier doesn't want to work with you. I go, all right. And I asked Blompier, and he was like, I never said that. I was like, okay, that's weird. But then from that lie, we started doing WrestleCulture.
Yes, yeah.
You, me, and Blompier, and you looked like you would rather be doing anything else than talking about wrestling in a room with foam around it.
No. I mean, there's a reason I don't do the podcast now. It's because I just hate doing them. I hate the sound of my own voice, as do most of these people here. It's not a pleasant thing to listen to. And, back then, I'd never done anything like creating actual content before. I'd never done any presenting, and it was painfully obvious, and I was just bad. And I've had to learn, like this year, now I'm doing the voiceovers, and I do bits to camera now. I've had to learn how to be okay at that, and I'm only just getting all right now.
But you were, pretty much straight away, the Adam versus Adam thing, people loved that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was. I just think that people weren't doing that online, and we went immediately all out with the punishments, and they've gone too far, essentially.
What was the craziest punishment you ever did for losing predicting who wins a pay-per-view match?
How long have you got? So, okay.
You had to dress up as Goldust, right?
For a month.
For a month.
For a month. Somebody died in the family, and I almost had to go to the funeral. So I've done a few different punishments, which I had to do a megabus to Amsterdam and then was sent immediately back by those I had to, the worst one that I've ever done, because it actually harmed me, is this hot sauce thing, where there were three shots of hot sauce in ascending hotness, and the unit of, I just heard somebody over there go, hotness.
That was my mother.
Heat, all right. And hello, by the way, I've been told to say I'll come over after. And
How very Scott Steiner of you.
Kenneth. And so the first one was fine. It didn't hurt that much at all. The second one had a bit of heat to it, hotness. And then the third one, it burned my mouth for like 20 minutes, and it was agony. And then I was like, okay, this has subsided now. I've got the rest of the day off. I'm going to go for go and see my friend Emily for lunch. So I went out and had lunch with Emily. And then 10 minutes in, I was like, Emily, something is dreadfully, dreadfully wrong here. I'm sweating, and I need to go home. Within 20 minutes, I'm laid on my bathroom floor crying. Had to go to hospital. A tube with a camera down my throat, and it has permanently, I had a stomach ulcer, and it has permanently damaged my body.
Both of us got a stomach ulcer from WhatCulture.
Right?
You can't make it up.
Suffering for our art.
I remember this is it's quite serious, but I guess it's funny now. So I was proofreading an article on the British wrestler Chris Travis, who had passed away due to stomach cancer. And I've developed from my mother being a hypochondriac. And so anytime I've got something, I'm like, what is it? And I go to the toilet in the WhatCulture offices, and it's a sit down, and it's black. And then I have to phone the GP in Glasgow. My mum's like, oh, just come home, it'll be fine. And they're like, you need to go to A&E right now. And I go to A&E in Newcastle, and I have to be sick, and it's pure blood. Like everywhere. That's what working at WhatCulture can do for you. Anyway, there were good times too. It was like any good relationship.
Yeah, and they're doing good things now. I'm not going to sit here and be nasty, because there were bad things, as you get with any job, and most of the people there were really fantastic.
Everyone on air is great.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, genuinely.
So then they started WCPW. What are your memories of them going, we're going to start a wrestling promotion?
I wasn't around for that, so I was off for 4 months ill, and then I got this email. I said, I'm ready to come back now. I'm good to go. And I got this email that said, okay, you may have heard through the grapevine that we're starting a wrestling promotion out of a rundown warehouse in Byker. I was like, oh, okay, well, that sounds good. And I have very fond memories of it for the most part, because
it was great.
It was really, really fun, and the talent there were fantastic. I think the shows were fantastic, and they're still really good now. Like, the quality of wrestling is fantastic.
Because I remember I came into a meeting, and they were like, we've got something to tell you that we want to let you know. And they were like, we're starting a wrestling promotion. I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, so we're starting this wrestling promotion. We want to do this, we want to do that. And I was wrong. I thought it was crazy, but it was a really good idea. And I remember the first time we did that little warehouse, and there was like barely enough room to breathe. And we did those shows. But then they had such big shows, you know, with Kurt Angle and all these people.
It grew so quickly. The first show, we're in this crappy little warehouse. There's literally puddles of piss on the floor. Jay Lethal is carefully treading over urine. And then
Noam Dar's playing FIFA.
Noam Dar's playing FIFA, covered in piss. And then the next month, he wasn't. The next month, it's like, oh, okay, by the way, we've got this guy coming in. It's Kurt Angle. And then we've got Bret Hart, and we've got Del Rio, and we've got Ray, and all of these huge names. It just grew so quickly. And it was a tremendous experience to be a part of. And I'm genuinely very proud of the work we did there, and very thankful for having those opportunities. There were some, once again, good times and bad times. Your refuse to lose story.
I don't think I've ever told this. So we're doing... They've got Jim Ross and Jim Cornette commentating Refuse to Lose in Newcastle. And then WhatCulture came to me and said, well, look, do you want to use JR and Cornette like somewhere else and do a show? Great, cool. So we'll do it in London, because they fly into London, and that's all fine. And then I was like, so... you know how Bret Hart's coming? Could I use him for a cameo? And they were like, okay, but you just need to do one thing in return. And I did not realize how difficult this would be. They were like, the next morning, you need to get Jim Ross, Jim Cornette and his wife, Bret Hart and his son, Minoru Suzuki, and his Desperado, I think it was, all to King's Cross on the same train. So, of course, Jim Cornette goes to St. Pancras, and can't find where he needs to go. So he's so angry that when I meet him, he goes, I can't talk to you. Bret Hart doesn't know where he is, God bless him. He's lovely, but he's fine. And then Minoru Suzuki's standing there, and in one of those really horrible moments, you go, I need to really convey this information fast, and there's no time for me to be nice about it. So I go, Platform 5, now. And he's like the toughest wrestler in the world. So somehow I get all these onto a train to Newcastle. And I'm like, oh, thank God, it's done. And then we get to Newcastle, and they put all of us up in the Premier Inn, I think it was. And they go, oh, can you go and give Minoru Suzuki his call time? And I'm going, and I go in, and I go
5.
It was 4, so I go 4, and then I was so bad, and I didn't go 4, and then I go, and he does it back. So,
I had a really bad one. Sorry, carry on.
And then, I don't know, can I say this? Well, I'm going to say it. So, the person who was with Bret Hart, who will remain nameless, who was in his family, we all ended up going out gay clubbing in Newcastle, and the next morning he's like, I've lost my phone, so can you like take the heat for it? And I'm like, how have I got your phone? If my dad asks, just like say you've not got it. Oh. And I go, but I've not got it. I know I've lost it here. I can't tell him because he'll be pissed at me. So then I get a text message from Bret Hart. Hi, Kenny. Have you seen phone? Bret, kiss.
He didn't do it. I know.
And I go, I never thought Bret Hart was going to kiss me. There's moments you just don't think are going to happen. And but then we did refuse to lose, and it was fine. So.
Those were really, really fun shows. I had to, the first one we did, because I was still living in London at the time, I had to collect Jay Lethal from the airport. And I'm terrified of this because, the first time I think I'd ever had any actual interaction with a wrestler, like a proper wrestler. So I went and met him at the airport, had to get the train down into King's Cross, and then a 3.5-hour train up to Newcastle. Piece of piss. And we were sat on the train together, and I'm sat next to Jay Lethal. What's going on? How has this become my life? And then about after an hour, we stopped making small talk. He wants to play his Nintendo DS. He's playing Pokemon, for those interested. And I was just listening to music, enjoying the journey, this very surreal experience. And then suddenly I feel a tap on my shoulder. I take my earphone off and yeah, what's up, Jay Lethal? And Jay Lethal just says, hey, Adam, what do you think it'll be like when Hulk Hogan dies? I don't know, Jay Lethal. It'd be quite big, that. Oh, okay. Headphones back on. Done.
That was it.
That was it. And then he had to dodge piles of piss for the rest of the event.
Well, in the refuse to lose train journey, I remember, I was like, they were very nice. They put me in first class with the wrestlers to try and, take care of them and stuff. And in first class on a Virgin train, they bring you, a full breakfast or something. But they bring it to you with no emotion behind the face. So they're bringing it down, and Jim Ross is trying to have banter. But because Jim Ross has the Bell's palsy in his face, you can't see his emotion clearly. So you have to, once you've spent time with him, you can see the little glint in his eye, and you can see when he's having a laugh. And he goes, "You got any Diet Coke?" And the girl's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Want to bring it to me?" He's like, but he's bantering with her, but because he's so straight faced, she's like, "What?" So I'm trying to diffuse Jim Ross and this woman who works for Virgin Trains badly, because we've already seen what I did with Minoru Suzuki, so I wasn't on the best footing anyway. I've never been so glad to pull into Newcastle. But you got fired from WhatCulture. Because you created your own company instead. Any words about that?
Twat. This is what your big announcement is tonight, isn't it? You're going back to WhatCulture a fourth time. Congratulations.
So when I got hired, I think the whole thing was just it was a miscommunication. Like I think they had thought that I was not going to do Inside the Rope shows anymore, which I very clearly said I was. Then I announced I was doing Scott Steiner shows, so we parted ways. Then I think it was January 2016. I was a good writer on the Monday, and I was an abysmal writer on the Friday. Nothing had changed. Write for the Daily Record now, just so they know. But it kept happening. I think the thing was they wanted, because you guys moved to Newcastle, you were there full time, and I think the thing that stopped me at WhatCulture, and this is not their fault, it's mine. I wouldn't commit 100%, and that was my call to not commit 100% because I just didn't feel right about it. And I think in the end I was right to not feel right about it. And I don't think we'd be here tonight doing this if I had stayed. So I wish them the best, but I think it's best that we moved on.
Likewise, and I sort of touched on this earlier, but genuinely I had a tremendous amount of fun at WhatCulture. The opportunities that we were all afforded, I didn't think that I'd be doing anything like this, or interviewing people who I had looked up to for 20 years. Like I got to meet Bret Hart and Ray and Kurt and have actual chats with people who I consider heroes of mine. So I am genuinely thankful for those opportunities, and the good far outweighed the bad. And I as well only wish good things to those still there, because they're working their asses off for sure.
And you're now doing Cultaholic. That started well. There were 5, then there were 4.
Sure. Yeah, it was, we built what we thought was this terrific marketing campaign. And obviously, things went wrong. I spoke to Blompier a few weeks ago. He's still good, and he's got other goals now, and that's cool. And I still think that, as I'm sure everyone here does, that it was a tremendous loss, because he was so incredibly talented and charismatic and a good friend. And now he doesn't want to do it anymore, and he wants to do other things, and that's cool too. Because why do so? Like, the reason we left is to have creative control and be happier in what we were doing. And if he was going to be unhappy anyway, then...
he's one of my good friends, works at Cultaholic, works his arse off. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Pacitti.
Thank you very much. Cheers.